What's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. Today I'm here with Guillaume, who got 4th place at the Cardmarket Online event with Golden Frieza. Very, very cool deck to see here doing well. Guillaume, how you doing, man?
Well, everything's perfect on my side. How about you?
Excellent. I love to hear it. I'm good, man. I'm very, very good. Glad to have you on the channel. So Golden Frieza, this is a leader that I think everyone kind of looks at when we get new Frieza support. Some people stick with it. Some people, I would say most people don't stick with it. But you obviously did stick with it. So why did you want to play this deck at this tournament?
Well, basically, I'm a diehard fan of this leader. I played it since I started the game, and as long as I consider him relevant, I'll continue to play him. And I think right now he's relevant, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally agree with that. I think when Soul Striker is relevant, this leader can actually be very relevant because he's very similar to Soul Striker, but he actually can draw a few more cards and untap a little bit more energy on his Awaken turn, which is kind of crazy. But it is a little bit reliant on drawing Frieza Army cards. But nowadays, we just have so many Frieza Army cards that it's really hard to be inconsistent, right? It's very, very consistent that way. So we'll just get right into the main deck. So for some of our 1-drops, we have 3 Infernal Emperor, 4 Avenging Frieza, and 4 Basil Fatal Rampage. So there are a lot more 1-drops. We'll get into them on the next page. But one question I have with Basil, a lot of people play 2 or 3 Basil because of his permanent. Basically he has unique, right? So was 4 ever too much? Did it ever like clog your hand, or did you want to just see this card all the time?
It's not more about how Basil is like he's limited. It's just more about consistency. It's because I needed good yellow cards for for charging and for arrival. And also, what you want to do with the leader is do a 1-drop, sacrifice it, and then play another 1-drop. So, for example, turn 1, you play Avenging Frieza, you grab a card, you sack it with leader, and tap the yellow, draw 1, and then you play Basil. So now you have 8 yellow 1-drops to do that leader combo.
Right, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's basically just probably the best turn 1, draw 1 you could play, and then if you draw more copies, you can combo it for Arrival, you could charge it, things like that. And then Infernal Emperor Frieza, I've seen a lot of Golden Frieza lists. They usually play 4 of this. Was getting Self-Awakened not too much of a problem?
Well, it's just that leaders in this meta usually need to attack you to draw 1 card compared to Surge Piccolo back in the day.
Right.
And I'm not running the Frieza Call into a malicious trick that after once you sack him, you play a Frieza from your hand. So because I'm not running this combo, I decided to run Infernal Emperor just a bit less. And it's just because we have a better life grabber in the deck, but he's still a good card, and it can take a life without attacking your opponent, and that's a cool thing to do.
Gotcha. I was actually going to ask you about that one Frieza, but you already mentioned it, so perfect. We got that out of the way already. All right, so here are our green 1-drops. Now, between this and the last page, there are 4, 8, 12, about 20 1-drops that you could sacrifice in this deck. So that's very, very consistent. So Zarbon Right Hands Man, you don't get the full effect of the activate battle and whatnot, but he still searches all your Frieza army cards that you need, so that's really good. Chilai Frieza Force Soldier, another relevant effect where she can bring cards out of the deck, and then Dodoria the Cold Blooded, which is another way to take life and has double strike. So with all this consistency, I can't imagine that you ever missed a turn 1, right? Like I'm sure whenever you wanted to, you had a way to sacrifice a Frieza army. Is that right?
Yeah, but the problem is like you kind of have to do your mulligan towards the 1-drop. So sometimes it can be hard. Like you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna keep Zamasu, super combo, and things like that for this matchup, because you have kind of this hinder with your leader to like search the specific 1-drops that draw a card to sack it and play another one. So basically you need 2 1-drop drawers, let's say, from the same color. But usually I'm all good, and the primary target is Chilai, because she has this wonderful activate main that maybe people don't use enough, and I think it's underused. It's like play a green Frieza army from the deck, means that you're doing a +1 on board, and that for example, if you play another copy of her, it's like you gain a card on board and you draw a card. So basically you gain 2 5k 10k combo, because there are 2 5k, and you can even sacrifice the second copy of Chilai for your leader effect. So basically you paid 2, but you regained an energy, so you paid only 1 to draw 2 cards, 1 with leader and 1 with the Chilai you brought. So basically, you did a nape for only 1 energy. It's kind of good.
Yeah, it definitely seems really good. And what's funny is the way you're explaining it, it makes perfect sense, but it's like it makes it like a math deck, and I'm sure some people aren't gonna like the math deck. But besides that, it definitely seems very, very strong. And then my question with Dodoria the Cold-Blooded. So you're playing 4 copies of this. It's another Self-Awakener alongside Infernal Emperor Frieza. With unisons in this meta, there's so many 20Ks, there's so many unisons that gain a ton of markers, so a lot of times people use these 1-drop double strikers to kill unisons. Can this deck deal with unisons decently, or is it kind of tough?
Well, it really depends, but sometimes against blue, their leader is going to attack 2 times at your leader, and what I will usually do is with Chilai, I will do 2 times her effect, because let's not forget it's not once per turn, so again she's a perfect mana sink, and I will take 2 Dodorias, and the 2 Dodorias are primarily here to awaken myself, but they can deal 4 damage to Unison, so against blue or even like green decks, like the Vegito from Gotenks, and so it really depends on situation, and that's actually what I love about this deck is if the opponent took life really quickly, even if you stay at 15 and their leader is already at 15, it makes 2 cards out of their hand. So then if they defend those, you can kind of switch to a kind of discarding plan, and that's actually where the Basil with his dual attack 19. So if they defend those 2 attacks, that means 2 cards less, and so on and so on. So basically, it depends on the situation. If you see that they like kind of use their hand to aggro yourself, or like your cards, you can switch to attacking something else from their leader to not give them life or awaken them, and just go on the unison. So it really depends.
Gotcha, very cool. I appreciate the in-depth answers for sure. And then here we have some other cards that you can bring out off of Chilai. Speedy Partner Limo, 1 Chilai the Beautiful, and 2 Zarbon Cosmic Lee. So Zarbon Cosmic Lee is a very, very good card. You just block with it, and your opponent discards a card. And Speedy Partner Limo, did you bring this out off Chilai often, or not very often?
Limo is like the second target that I bring with Chilai. Usually I bring Zarbon. Usually my turn to play is grab Zarbon from the deck, because what you want to do with the leader is awaken at 4, so you want to be able to block so that your opponent doesn't drop you too low, and be able to awaken on your turn and not on your opponent's turn. But Limo is like a good mana sink with Chilai, because he discards a card and then he can pressure unisons, and after that, I'm just gonna mention with Zarbon, if you sacrifice it with leader, your opponent also drops a card, so he's not only there for blocking. So for example, turn 2, I can use Chilai's effect, bring Zarbon, sacrifice Zarbon, and then my opponent's discard a card, I get my green energy back, and then I pay 1 for Zarbon, and then I bring him back. And so I just discarded a card freely from my opponent's hand, and I still have Zarbon for my opponent's turn to block and control my awaken, if I can say.
Yeah, very cool. I love how this deck is full of combos. Like a combo like that is really strong. And then Chilai the Beautiful. So you only played 1 copy. Was it worth the 1 copy? Like what was the main purpose of this card?
The main purpose is she acts almost like a Limo. If you have an opponent's battle card to attack, basically if you have an opponent battle card to attack, because you can do a lot of attacks sometimes with Basil, with your leaders, with maybe the board that you put on your opponent's turn, and if you KO an opponent's battle card by attacking, she just acted like a Limo, because you KO the card, so the guy discards 1, and she's still there. So if you KO another card, then she discarded 2 on her own. But usually I prefer Limo, but sometimes this situation comes and Chilai is a bit better.
Very cool. All right. So here we have some of our successor stuff. So SS Broly All Out Assault, one of the best cards in green yellow, of course. And then 1 Belmod, and of course the 1 Celzino. So 1 Belmod, did you ever wish you had more copies of this? Like, was this not such a good card? Was it an MVP? How did this card work out for you, the Belmod?
Well, I'd say he acts as a secondary Celzino, because Celzino is an ultimate, so of course I can play only 1. But he's still a good replacement as to Celzino, and also you can actually do both in the same turn sometimes.
Right.
And to be honest, if you resolve both of them in the turn 5, I always kill my opponent on turn 5 when I resolve both of them. So he acts as a second one, and with Golden Frieza cycling so much, it's usually you see Celzino, but the games you don't, you actually need it. So this is where like the successor 7 with Margarita and like the Angel Destroyer comes in handy.
Gotcha. So yeah, so it's basically an extra copy of Celzino. I like that a lot. You know, because basically having quote unquote 2 Celzinos, make sure you'll see one at least throughout the game. And then 4 is the Monster Taker Disbelief, 4 Bergamo, and 2 Swift Retaliation Cooler. So in a lot of decks that play Estus Broly All Out Assault, they'll actually play the Giro super combo. I'll say in this deck, you probably don't have too many great things you want in the drop area. I would say probably Zarbon is maybe the only one. Did you ever try the Giro super combo, or was Zamasu just always the one you wanted to play?
Well, let's say I wasn't running Bergamo in Golden Frieza. It's hard to say because, like as you mentioned, we don't really need a lot of cards in the graveyard, and it's sad to say, but Giro, in my opinion, isn't that good of a super combo because it doesn't generate value. Like, he doesn't block an attack, so blocking an attack is value in a sense. He doesn't drop a card in your opponent's hand, and he does make you draw cards in your hand. So basically, he's just a rival fodder.
Right.
And well, it's dumb to say, but the thing is, if you really go in this route, then you want to play 4 Broly Arrival, maybe more Arrival, so like the Kryn 18 Power Couple, which are good cards, but then I feel the deck is a bit more inconsistent, and it's a bit less good. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Less good for than Zamasu Bergamo, that I think is just busted when you combine them together and play them at the good timing. Because sometimes you can just block an entire opponent's turn.
Right.
So for example, let's say they have 4 energy. You're against blue, you use Zamasu and you do 1 Bergamo, so you tap 2 of their energy, so they can play that Obuni. But if, for example, sometimes you can be a bit more tricky and you wait for them to do things. So for example, let's say we're going Soul Striker, they're gonna play Obuni, then they attack with Leader to untap those 2 energy, and then you do the Zamasu and Bergamo, and now they're tapped out, and that's where you can be very good on your next turn because they're tapped out. So sometimes doing the good timing on Zamasu and Bergamo is crucial.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely love those turns where Bergamo pretty much ends your opponent's turn. Very, very strong for sure. And then this is just for the last of the deck. 2 Time Magic. I like that you're playing Time Magic and not Nimbus, because Time Magic is great now against Go Tanks and things that attack multiple times, where Nimbus right now seems kind of very lackluster. The 1 Cold Bloodlust, one of the most broken cards you can play in this deck, of course. And then the 1 Double Strike, and then the 3 Mira Assault from the Skies. So to me, 3 of this guy seems like a lot just because he is an Overwhelm 7. But did you just want to use this guy to end the game like all the time?
Well, he's just like one of the best Overwhelm you could possibly have in this deck, because you, by the Leader ability, you need to sack a lot of things to draw and have a good leader. Well, you're getting a drop area really quickly, and this is pretty much a free 30k double strike, because he will draw a card for you. So even though you used it in your hand, he replenishes itself, and he gives his energy back. So if you have a deck that uses energy defensively, which we are with Bergamo, Broly Arrival, and here the Cold Brothers and Time Magic, well, he's just a perfect overarm. So usually what I want to do is use 2 times him in a game. Sometimes I won't even sometimes it even feels like I'm wasting an attack on an opponent's battle card and things like that. But I know that I have 2 more in the deck, and that I will play a second one in the game. So usually he's there, and yeah, he's there. Like the double strike is also there because you can finish your opponent by tapping them out with your Broly Arrival and Bergamo, and you can actually also counter cooler, and sometimes they just die because they are tapped out, and that you do some double strike threat. So sometimes you just win like this.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You're putting a lot of cards in the drop area just by your leader, so it definitely makes a lot of sense. So that's the whole deck. Are there any major or minor changes you would make to the deck?
Well, it really depends on the format. Maybe I should include some silver bullets in it. I may try again Demigora Unison in it with like the counterplay Frieza, because he's a Frieza army, so he combos well. But yeah, for the moment I'm even thinking about cutting Cold Bloodlust, because the only target I like to Cold Bloodlust is Shrouded in Mystery.
Right.
And it uses an energy, it's dumb to say, but when you compare it to counterplay Trunks with Blue Unison, it costs 0, and here it costs 1 energy and it clogs your hand. So I don't know.
Interesting. I can't believe I'm hearing someone say they want to cut Cold Bloodlust. It's crazy to me.
Yeah,
but I mean,
but
you play the deck a lot, so I'm sure you know more what you're talking about than I do. But anyways, that's the whole deck. Congratulations once again. Any shout outs you want to get out there?
Yeah, well, thanks to my practice team. Like, we're an association in France, Top Deck Division. We do a lot of content, so well, if you're in the area, we're kind of doing a lot of things there. And yeah, I want to shout out my practice mate Brian, who made top 1 with Baby at the Cardmarket Online previously. So he's a good contender, and yeah, that's all. We trained a lot together, and yeah, Europe's still strong.
Very cool, man. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time.